Hey you, yeah, you, the one trying to make a video game. I've got someone here that can help you, and that someone is Intel, which is not a someone, it's a company. But this company, they are going to help you as if they were a somebody and a someone and also a something. Check out software.intel.com/gamedev to find out how Intel is making sure all the innovation in gaming continues to happen on the PC as part of the Intel Game Dev program. Again, that URL is software.intel.com/gamedev. Sign up and start something new. You guys ready?
I'm ready. Something's sounding real clicky on my end.
Yeah. If you just remember, if you use the keyboard or if you doing anything else, just mute yourself in cast. That's the best way to do it. Okay. 5, 4, 3. All right, welcome back. This is day 4 of the GamesBeat Decides Game of the Year podcast. We're going to go over 3 topics today. 2017 was the year of, and then there's an ellipses there.
Me.
Best new character, and you're not an ellipses, Mike. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that. And then the most beautiful game is the last one there. I'm sure we'll find plenty of other time for the topic of yelling at Mike. We should just hop right in because we're running like it's getting late on a Friday. Mike is Eastern time, so it's like it really is the weekend for him already. So let's just do this and let's try to make it as efficient as possible. Before we hop in, though, let's do introductions. With me for this episode is myself, Jeffrey Grubb, and let's start with Mike. Go ahead and say hi, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike, and maybe I could be an ellipses if some people believed in me.
Never going to happen. Rowan?
Hi, Rowan is here.
And Dean. Dean, are you here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
This is the best. If you're watching on video, he's holding a Guitar Hero microphone, and it's making my day. All right, let's hop right in.
He has a microphone, I guess.
That's true. Yeah, it's better than normal. Oh man,
I'm gonna start singing soon.
Yeah, do it,
Dean. If only. Don't make any promises you can't keep.
Man, yeah, this is gonna be our karaoke episode. Okay, let's just start with trends. So I make this. 2017 was the year of. I feel like there was one year this category got started because it was 20. Like some year was the year of the bow, and then every year since that it's been like some negative thing. And I think 2017 might continue that trend. Does anyone have anything here that jumps out of them that they want to start with?
I don't know. I feel like this is just kind of the year of Nintendo in some ways, in a non-negative way, right?
Sure. Yeah. Let me explain.
Well, it's kind of just goes on with what we kind of said, company year or whatever, but Nintendo's just had a phenomenally good year with launching a system that almost is kind of, has more sales or is catching up to the sales of its last system, which was this big, failure, and also launching 2 of the kind of most critically acclaimed games of the years, on that system, and having them be a Mario game and a Zelda game, big deal. And then besides that, just still supporting that system so well, where it felt like every single month there was some kind of an important game coming out of that thing. And even outside of just going on with the Switch, the 3DS still had pretty decent support. Yet, their mobile efforts were going on. Fire Emblem Heroes was actually pretty fun. They just launched Animal Crossing, and then the Super Nintendo Classic system was great. It doesn't really have nearly as bad a supply issue as the NES Classic had.
Yeah, I think I remember saying it does feel like the Switch is the PlayStation 4 for everybody that can't have their system take over a TV or is busy. Basically, an adult. If you're an adult, if you're not on NeoGAF all day or now Reset Era, the Switch is probably doing for you what the PS4 was doing for people back in 2013 and 2014. Yeah, and some good games there. Anyone else have any thoughts on Nintendo as being the trend of this year, or what 2017 really was the year of?
I think you're at least seeing these developers who would never otherwise go to a Nintendo platform showing up on it now, like Bethesda with Doom. When you see something like that, you go, You start scratching your head. It's like, when was the last time this kind of thing happened, right?
And probably not since when the Wii was the first a big hit, and a lot of the third-party publishers were like, oh, our stuff will work on here too, and then it didn't. But the difference is, I think that their stuff is working on this system this time.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Roland, please.
The only thing that would get in the way of saying that Nintendo was the trend of the year is if something else like loot boxes is more of the trend of the year. But Nintendo could definitely be the good trend of the year. I think everyone was surprised by how positively the Switch was received.
Yeah, and I definitely think we'll do a couple of runner-ups here. I have no problem putting Nintendo in the at least over in the finalist bar for now, and kind of see if anything else kicks it off from the top three at the very least.
One other thing about Nintendo: the 3DS is still alive. Yeah. That's kind of impressive. People have been saying it's been dead for 4 years, but there's still the occasional game that grabs people's interest.
Yep, I mean, as long as Pokemon was coming out, that was always going to be the case. But then, yeah, it surprised us with Metroid. It surprised us, I think, even with that new Mario and Luigi revamp or whatever it was. Yeah, reasons to go back to the 3DS are always surprising to me at this point. Why don't we get into some of these other topics? Anyone else want to take it up here?
I like the one about 2017 was a year of unpredictable gamer rage. And who would have predicted some of these things, I would have gotten into trouble about complaining that Cuphead was a difficult game, right?
I think there's something there. I think... I don't want to be like...
Maybe I could have predicted that.
Yeah, I feel like we should have predicted a lot of these things at this point.
Loot Crates was going to bring down Battlefront 2. I was not expecting that, right?
Yeah, and I mean that is two sides of the loot box thing. I mean, last year, our trend, the winner of this topic was loot boxes for 2016. Well, oh yeah, that was the trend. I don't think we predicted it would kind of escalate to where it got to this point in 2017.
And then there was the bad facial animation made Mass Effect Andromeda an unplayable game. Right?
Yeah, I mean, all these things are the way that the gaming fandoms have responded to these various things, and how that it's been volatile and unpredictable. Those are definitely two separate things, and I'm wondering maybe actually that might be the bigger thing here.
And another one was that Hellblade thing where they threatened permadeath, but they were just joking about it, right?
Well, that one is weird because it's that's the
because that made you mad.
That didn't make me mad, but I am so almost kind of confused by it, because it's not like a joke, because jokes are funny, right? It was more of a lie.
It does feel like some of these things did happen in the past, though. I feel like that Hellblade thing probably would have made people mad in 2014 or 2015. I don't know if this is necessarily new. I guess I do think maybe Reddit's power was the thing that really did culminate in 2017. We saw that with Battlefront. So I guess what topic are we talking about here specifically? Do we want to talk about unpredictable gamer rage? Is that one we want to argue to be on this list?
I mean, that kind of just ties into the loot crates and that's the big thing we're kind of dancing around, right? Was the year of, I don't know if you want to call it the loot box, or I would almost call it the year of the Reddit in a way, because it seems like that was the epicenter of a lot of this stuff and where a lot of it would pick up traction.
Yeah, maybe that.
I mean, we've had unpredictable gamer rage as a dominant feature for 3 straight years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I don't know.
I think we said last year was the year of the loot boxes, but it was almost more in everyone seemed okay with it at that time thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No one was mad about loot boxes, but it was a thing. Yeah. And this year, everyone really was no, that's enough. And so much of it was Battlefront 2. And that's what's interesting. They wonder about that whole thing. There was these other smart things, but Battlefront 2 specifically, man, that one really gained just a ton of traction, a lot of mainstream media support, and to the point where it's actually affecting the industry as we know it right now. Where now all of a sudden, People are wondering if microtransactions have a future in console gaming. They're wondering if governments are going to get involved and regulate loot boxes and stuff like that. It's kind of nuts.
There's also all that rage about the EA comment on single-player games as well, right?
Right. And some of that is just like EA not doing a good job of being a game publisher in 2017.
So I think we're all going to agree that loot boxes is going to be on the final 3 here at least. So I moved it over. And real quick before we move on too fast, unpredictable gamer rage. Do we just want to call that this is the year of Reddit and make that this thing right here? Because it really did seem that was the epicenter, like Mike said. Would that make more sense?
Fine by me.
I mean, the thing is, Reddit could be good or bad. Reddit is just sort of a place. And then,
but Reddit's power. I mean, Reddit's power. Well, yeah. What am I trying to say here? That's what I'm trying. I'm trying to figure out this topic or the name of this trend.
I think the unpredictable part was. I mean, the gamer age is not new, and in some ways, the predictability of it. Things that related to, say, Gamergate, and,
but I think it's unpredictable
sexism,
now,
etc.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and those I think we got our heads around a lot of those things. I just didn't. I think many of us didn't realize how much Reddit would be able to. Reddit and YouTube, I think, working in conjunction, but maybe it is primarily Reddit, would be able to continue to amplify these voices so much louder and louder and louder. I don't know. I feel like there's something there. Maybe it should be called Reddit's power or Reddit's influence. Or something like that.
I think that does leave out YouTube a bit too much, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But oh well. There's also the it was 2017 was the battle royale of battle royales, right?
Oh gosh. Pretty much, yeah. It was kind of the year of PUBG in some ways, but it's in these things following up with that.
Yeah, Fortnite.
But I suspect 2018 will really be the year of that.
Yeah, I mean, you do wonder because you wonder like how long that goes till. Like there was a point where it seemed like we were just swimming in MOBA clones, and that finally fell off a bit. But I do wonder, like, is this really just picking up now, or are we going to just get really tired of seeing these battle royale clones in 2018?
Well, I think the thing is, it's a lot easier conceptually to make a battle royale game or add a battle royale mode to an existing game, as Fortnite did really, really quickly. Fortnite had, an existing shooter engine. It had an existing ability to have a bunch of people and things in the same place at once. So, they were able to put that together in like a couple months.
And they had the advantage of free to play.
Yeah, whereas the putting together a MOBA requires a whole hell of a lot more, I think, programming and balancing and so on.
I guess there's something about did it pretty quickly too.
Yeah, there's something about the battle royale concept that has an appeal without necessarily it being a specific genre. It probably will be at some point, but I think that throwing everyone in a room together and having them murder each other is a thing that a lot of games could be set up to do.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of them, they already have that sort of the skeleton there. It was just adding the limbs of the specific mode. I do think that's going to be a 2018 thing, though. I think you're right. The big. I would still, if this was going to be one of the trends, it would just be PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, because I think saying that it was about battle royales ignores the fact that if it was any other game, like for example, if it was H1Z1, which was very popular. But it was never as popular, like nowhere in the same stratosphere as what PUBG eventually reached. So I think it had to be this game. If Fortnite had come out and PUBG hadn't, Fortnite would not have done the same thing. It just wouldn't have the same effect. But I also don't think it's going to be able to knock any of the ones we already have up there. So let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything I want to call out.
I mean, I have my big one about single-player games that
go for that one, Rowan. I think that's probably perfect for right now.
So I have a piece going up on this. I guess it will probably be up by the time this podcast is released, but it's currently an editing process. But it's basically about how instead of this being the year of the single-player game dying, it's the year that a certain particular form of single-player game kind of faded away, and that is a 8 to 12 hour action adventure game that's a relatively self-contained thing. Like maybe it has multiplayer mode, but you're playing this game like once, you're getting a satisfying emotional connection with the game. And this was like what the visceral Star Wars game was supposed to be. Whereas the games that came out this year were all bigger. They were all super games that were never ended or lasted for months instead of weeks. And they're all based around like giving people extrinsic rewards, loot boxes, things that are like kind of imposed from above instead of having like satisfying stories in their own way. Right. So something like Mass Effect Andromeda, compared to the original Mass Effect trilogy, its open world nature made it just not work at all. Like there's no emotional connection to that game except in very specific, old-fashioned linear throwback levels. Shadow of War is a game that I have been playing, and like I like the act of playing it, but all of its sort of metagame stuff that they've added on top of it, the way that you recruit orcs into your army and make them develop, and the way that you progress with your items in that game are really, really boring. And they're also the boring things that are can be purchased away to make them less boring. So I make the comparison to the airline industry in this piece. It's like, if you're willing to pay for it, you can play these games first class. Otherwise, they'll just annoy you. And this is, I think, what people are getting upset about. It's not that single-player games are gone. It's that single-player games are these huge, all-consuming things that aren't emotionally satisfying. And there are good ones. You know, people loved Zelda. Maybe Zelda is a good one. I don't have a Switch. I can't judge it, but I would imagine,
it's a good
given
one.
the reactions, that people are not wrong about that. But for every Zelda, there's a Shadow of War or Mass Effect Andromeda that's incredibly disappointing. And even if Zelda is great and everyone tries to model their future games off of Zelda, I mean, Skyrim was an exceptional game, and people modeling their games off of Skyrim is how we got in this mess. So I think this is...
It's that combination of the single-player story with the open world that
Right.
really just sort of screws things up. And I just came back from Montreal, where a couple of Ubisoft writers gave a talk about how hard it was for them to write the story for the Assassin's Creed Origins, because it was an open world, and they just would have a dramatic story going of you've got to rescue this person, and the time is of the essence, and then, oh, by the way, I'm going to go battle some crocodiles for a while, right? And then you come back to your quest and you go, what was I supposed to do again? I forget what was it? And it's just it's like a crazy artifact of video games, I think.
Yeah, it's if you have a linear level design, you can like encourage players to go in specific emotional and kind of self-awareness levels. Like if you start it with a very slow, sneaky mode, and then you suddenly have a big burst of action, and then attach the story to that, that gets people going. But with the open world thing, the things that are exciting are when they're toys. It's like when you do something unexpected and the game world reacts in a really weird way. Zelda, Far Cry, when it's at its best, is like this. Shadow of Mordor was like this at times. Those are, about building the systems and not building the story. And I think it's understandable that the people are a little weirded out by how badly some of the games that were supposed to be story-based have ended up turning out because of this trend towards more, bigger.
So what I would want to know is, right here in the doc, we have it, single player games as a chore. And I think that's close, but I think it's almost like if it just feels like it should be like all of the bullshits that got in the way of enjoying a single player linear narrative experience. Like daily login rewards and all this other stuff, that the ways that they try to keep you engaged and monetized. And I feel like that's like definitely like the chore is a good way of putting it, but I feel like there's a better way of encompassing just everything that is the problem with single player games that made these things either go away or not feel as fun as they should have. And I think if we can nail that, it will definitely be a finalist here. Anyone have an idea what that should be?
One of the terms I use is I call it a super game, a game like Civilization or NBA 2K that you're supposed to just play forever.
It's supposed to be your game, right? Yeah.
So all these single player games that used to be very constrained experiences are now trying to be super games, and it's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something about it's like straining single player games beyond what they were intended to do, or just making every single player game feel like it has to be something more than it is. I don't know. It's definitely something that should be on there. I think this is the one that encompasses wrong thing. It's the one that encompasses like a lot of anxieties that people have about what EA was saying, and about what they're starting to notice. And when they look at like sales charts and they see games like Prey or whatever not selling, I think this is what they are worried about. Okay.
Right. You have Bethesda and Naughty Dog is basically the only two people who are trying to fight against this. Everyone else has just gone huge, and it doesn't always work.
Right.
Well, I guess kind of what I'm thinking a little bit is, and you mentioned this too, there are a lot of single player games that are still doing like good things. You said Bethesda and Naughty Dog, but Nintendo's stuff, even Horizon Zero Dawn, I mean, it had some kind of a loot boxy thing, but it was completely secondary and unnecessary, right? Some of the RPGs this year, like Divinity, Original Sin 2. I know people really liked the Torment game, whatever it was called now. I know Jason was a big fan of that one though. So that's kind of just my thing about like a negative category like this is that, and like what you're saying is right. But man, there were just so many good games this year of almost every kind of thing you can think of. And a lot of them definitely kind of screwed the pooch, I think. And it is a little nerve-wracking that might be a trend, and maybe it's starting here. Or maybe it definitely grew a lot here, but I don't know if it's the year of that necessarily.
Yeah, and that's what
I did think there were, a lot of AAA mistakes this year.
I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we need to find the name of this trend.
How about AAA mistakes?
Yeah, it would have to be a little bit more specific, I think.
But even the things that aren't mistakes, I think, still fall in this category. So, Zelda is the biggest Zelda ever, right? Mario has the biggest levels. Like, even these games that people love, and they're still getting bigger in a way that doesn't always feel like it's the most fun. Like, I like Mario's with more linear levels. I don't know. I'd probably love Odyssey anyway, but I definitely think that there are also specific types of games that are getting lost. The cinematic RPG is basically dead. It's become the open world RPG, and The Witcher succeeded with that, and everyone else, specifically BioWare, has failed at that.
Right. Yeah. So I don't necessarily know if we need to make the trend a problem with single player. It could be this. I think it's like an overinflation of extraneous bullshit thrown on top of these games that isn't necessary, and that's the trend. That's the problem.
You just call it inflation as the trend.
Yeah, like
hashtag content.
You broke up there a little bit for me, Rowan. What was that?
Hashtag content.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Maybe just overinflation of unnecessary content. I mean, that just seems. I don't know if that really gets to the heart of it, but I feel like that's.
We could figure it out that it's related to
exactly
a lot of the other things, like EA's very bad year.
EA's very bad year. Just the year of EA being.
It's kind of bad behavior, maybe, but they're going to do $5 billion in revenues this year.
Yeah, I mean, FIFA's going to make a lot of money, without a doubt. Yes, I mean, was it the year of EA being not good?
No, because I mean that just kind of feeds into some of the other things. I mean, I don't know.
I agree.
I know that maybe there's more things to go through here, but I'm not sure if anything's gonna. I feel like this is coming down to Nintendo or loot boxes, whatever we call loot boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like any one of these could be knocked off at this point, but. Okay, so we do have 4 over in the finalists. Do we have anything over here in this left column that we want to move over? Well, I'm trying to see if there's anything we didn't talk about. Survival strategy gets cute. Rowan, you want to go over that one real quick?
Sorry, I was muted for a second. This is an interesting trend, but it's not a thing that's going to be the trend of the year. If you want me to talk about it, I can. But
yeah, you do that one, and then
if you're trying to make a finalist,
yeah, you do that one real quick, and then Mike, you talk about revivals real quick, and then I think we'll try to figure out which one of these 4 we have to drop.
So this is one that I've been following personally for a little while because I really like this genre, and I also am fascinated by what genres start getting popular. Survival strategy are games like Dwarf Fortress and RimWorld, where you're controlling a small group of people in a very harsh environment, and they'll probably die hilariously, and maybe everything will collapse and burn.
The time banditification of strategy games.
I think it's a genre that has a lot of cool stuff going for it, and it's especially good in a YouTube and streamer world where all this stuff has, systemic weirdness that can make streamers start screaming uncontrollably about how other people are drowning in piss and shit, like Oxygen Not Included has. So this is a thing that I think has had a problem with its main games being not terribly attractive. RimWorld is it gets the job done, but it's not a game that you're going to show off and say, look how adorable or look how awesome this is. And Dwarf Fortress obviously is ASCII. Whereas I think companies have started realizing that this is a thing that could become big, and they're investing time in making them look and feel and sound good. Oxygen Not Included came out in early access. It's gotten some pretty big updates since. It looks like Fallout Shelter, but it's actually a real game instead of a loot box generator. The other thing is Paradox announced Surviving Mars, which has a really, really neat aesthetic to it. And it's, you're on Mars trying to create the first human colony, and that's not coming out till next year. So this might be a thing to keep in mind for the next couple of years. But I think this is a genre that's poised to explode, and we're going to look back at this year as maybe the turning point for that.
And Mike, how about revivals?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of franchises that have really kind of been in the shadows or stuck in some kind of a rut or another came back this year, specifically on the retro side. The big one is, one of my favorite 2D side scrolls from the 16-bit era that, has been gone for a while, and it was great seeing it back. I'm talking about Bubsy, of course.
Damn you, you had me on the hook there.
No, but seriously, Sonic Mania was fantastic. It was one of my favorite games of the year, and
I really thought you were going to go for Sonic Forces there, just to really drive home.
That's the weird thing about Sonic, right? Because Sonic has always been there. It's been this other thing for so long.
Yeah, but has it been an imposter?
Yeah, but it's like to just have this Sonic game that just felt like one of the old Sonic games and actually be as good as them, right? Not just kind of this cute whatever. It didn't feel, even though it's made by people who made a lot of fan games, it never felt like a fan game, really. Except for maybe in good ways, but not in the bad ways.
Right.
The other big one was Metroid, where that series has been on the rocks for a long time outside of that weird Federation Force 3DS game that didn't star Samus that I think everybody either forgot about or would rather forget about. The one before that, Other M, was just 2010 or 2011. That was a while ago. People weren't exactly gaga over that one either. So it's just specifically too for just a 2D Metroid game, not since Zero Mission, which was a remake, even though this one's kind of a remake, but not really. And it was just a super fun game. I liked playing that a lot. And even just even though the Mega Man 11's coming out next year, the fact that was announced this year just kind of made me think of this theme a little bit more. Even
I would. I mean, I know it doesn't make any sense, but even Mario Odyssey kind of I think plays in this just because
a little bit.
Yeah, just because it feels like they realized they could get big and weird and different and really try to make a game that was complex for fans of, for fans that have been playing this series for so long and saying, oh, you've built up these skills, you could do all these things, we could still make a game for you, instead of just trying to boil it down to the easiest basic functions. But yeah,
I guess Call of Duty fits in that revival story too, because they went back to World War II, and
somehow it does.
It's tripled their sales or whatever.
Yeah.
What a weird thing. Okay, so we got 4 over here. Just a reminder. So this is 2017 was the year of. We're trying to just figure out what was the trend that defined this year.
Can it just be the year of Luigi again?
I mean, it probably should be. We should just admit to ourselves that's what we're really trying to get at here. I mean, deep down, that's what we all want. Honestly, my gut here says to go with some sort of combination of gamer rage, Reddit, YouTube, loot boxes sort of thing.
See, my one thing is just that when I think of this year, I mean, this is the
I know
positive person in me. This was such a good year for gaming. There were so many good years.
I know you're a ray of sunshine, Mike, and I agree.
I know,
and Nintendo does exemplify that.
And it just seemed like it was such a good year for games. Even though there was all this stuff happening, maybe not so great. But just in terms of the actual games coming out, there were just a lot of really good ones. And we can recognize that in other ways. That's fine, because it definitely that headline wise, a lot of stuff was about this kind of rage. You can just say rage, right? It was the year of rage, and we don't mean the classic id game.
I think the unpredictable gamer rage, it encompasses loot boxes, but was bigger than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was about
I agree.
So many things that
right. I think it was a fundamental thing that fueled it, but yeah.
And
one thing that we could say,
it's kind of consistent with the whole kind of the political environment as well, right? So
everyone's mad.
People expressing their rage is what we do in politics now, right? It's just it's good. The world has gone insane, and I think we're all just sort of carrying over that insanity into video games.
I think one way to frame it is that it's the year of a lot. A lot of things happened. There are just way too many games.
2017 was a lot. Yeah.
To actually count that, I think more than even previous years of not being able to play everything, this year just felt like everything is totally in its own zone. And then there's a year of just exhausting controversies, exhausting single-player games, exhausting what was the other one? I guess that's both the Reddit and the
exhausting loot boxes.
Yes, loot boxes. So it's the year of too much in both good ways and bad ways.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I know it's insane, but I almost feel like just dropping loot boxes from this because it would because I do feel like unpredictable gamer rage, Reddit, YouTube's influence does sort of
it includes that.
Includes that, right? I mean, I think when we're talking about loot boxes, you can't talk about that without talking about that. I mean, I guess the vice versa is true as well. But yeah, I mean, does anyone think that's too crazy, or should I just drop it?
No,
drop it.
Drop it like it's hot. That's what the kids say, Jeff.
Yeah.
Those kids are putting their own kids through college these days.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. Mike, sounds like you are on Nintendo on this one, right?
Yeah, that's where I would go. But
yeah, no, that's okay. I want to hear what you actually think. Dean, how about you? Where are you at on this? Which one should take away trend of 2017?
Well, since it affected me most, of course, the unpredictable gamer rage is what I'm going to go with.
I know what Dean's going to think of when he thinks of 2017.
How about you, Rowan?
Well, I mean, that was me last year and the year before.
Yeah.
Though I missed 2014. So it's there's been a lot of unpredictable gamer rage, but that definitely is one that hit us for pretty ridiculous reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's incredible about that? People don't know, my friends don't necessarily, in Ohio, know about GamesBeat. I'll go out with people. I was out with, a friend on Wednesday, and he was he just knows it. Just what do you think about this thing where people think, reviewers should be, good at video games? Because I saw this Cuphead video, and I was like, yeah, that was my site.
Yep. I think that's that. I don't know. Living through it
the
and seeing
Cuphead guy.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
And seeing how the reality of the situation and what is actually true just completely disregarded. Like, not, I mean, I can't even overstate it, how like unconcerned people were with what was actually happening, because the narrative that was created on Reddit and then repeated ad nauseum on YouTube just became their truth, and that's all they needed. And
we said Dean
That was more Twitter's fault, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Twitter.
We said Dean. No, it was more. I think it was Reddit.
I mean,
really.
there was one post. Yeah, it was one post on Twitter that kind of started, but then that just feeds. They all feed into one another. I don't necessarily know how like the snake, like where the snake begins eating its own tail, but I don't know. It's just there is. I feel like this is the one, because when I just think about it, it's like how does this stuff happen? How does it get so out of whack with what I know is true? Because I'm literally sitting right here, like posting the video myself, or like telling you to post the video, Dean. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, it was interesting for me to meet the Cuphead developers this week, and when the guy asked, like the moderator asked, how many of you have finished Cuphead? And, there was an audience of hundreds of people, and 3 people raised their hands.
Hey, half the people in this podcast have beaten Cuphead.
Well, I'm still trying.
I don't know. Like I said, my gut goes towards, and I guess we would call it maybe Reddit and YouTube's influence. It's hard to name these specific trends, but yeah, that's where I would go. I don't know.
That's by me.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna bold it.
Probably.
Yeah, let's just say it. Yeah. All right, cool.